Hello my friends, I'm Rick and this is your seat at the table and you're looking at part of Sissy who's just now deciding to get down off the table. Good girl. You got little Missy over here in the corner. She's sitting in her box as she came in to get nosing around. So what we're looking at here is on my roll up for cycle 17. One of the things that I encountered was an imperial researcher, and on the left or on the right here is the entry in my book for that. I mean, I'm sure you'll have trouble reading it. That's understandable. On the left is my entry for the Research Institute, and that's kind of what we want to see today. We're looking at how we're going to take our researcher and put him into the environment that we need him to be in so we can take advantage of that. So one of the things I'm going to have to do, of course, is go dig around and find my shit. Find my notes, right? And, of course, they'll always be at the last place I look. So I believe that it would be this one. And let's go down and take a gander and see what I got. That's Fred Dodge. Alright. Cycle 17. Fred's to-do list. Young Curl. In the R&D, right? Okay, so we want to get the blueprint guide out, and we're going to get page 287 on there. No, I'm thinking something else. All right, so research, R&D. All right. Research Institute is page 80. Now, every colony, when the colony comes, your initial colony ship includes the Research Institute as well. And so it is that's how we go. The Research Institute, our eyes are the means by which a house lord may research new builds and component blueprints. The house must possess the lower versions of the blueprints in advance before researching or making use of higher versions. So every house comes with all Tech 1 blueprints and lower. So if you have for example, an industrial world which is a -2 on the technological scale, the Imperium has long ago went through that phrase probably numerous places on numerous worlds, so we have plenty of information on how to build our own version of 1930s technology, right? So in the case of our research, so anything from Tech 1 up. So if I want to research a Tech 4 item, I need to have Tech 2 and Tech 3 of that same tree also researched. In addition to that, each RI also comes equipped with 2 R&D labs to be used for researching exotic discoveries such as flora and fauna, see developing your worlds. And so we get the breakdown on the item itself, or the build itself. It is a Tech 1 build. All the items required to build it are listed here on the top row. And that, of course, is modified by the planetary build modifier. So if I chose to build a second RI on my capital world of Fairwind, I would because it has a build modifier of 1.5, I would need, in this case it says 10 tons of atmospherics, I would need 15. 20 tons of aluminum, I would need 30. You see how that goes up. So if you got a build modifier of 5, then you would need 50 tons of atmospherics, and you would need 100 tons of aluminum to construct this on that planet. And then, of course, we get into the tax bonus rent, i.e., the house this costs me 20 cycles, 20 credits per cycle as part of my government expenses to operate. If I allow a guild or a platinum to construct their own version, then they would pay the house 40 credits per cycle in revenue for the privilege of having it. We also have damage. It has a damage reducing and damage points. So the building itself could sustain 500 points of damage from a capital grade ship. That's not going to take very long. From ground-based weapon systems, it could take a while, depending on unless you use concentrated explosives. Then we have a base cost of 125 credits, which would be, once again, times the build modifier. The base techs required to operate are 50 Tech 1 plus 10 texts equal to the level of the blueprint being researched. So I'm researching Tech 2 items. I have assigned 10 additional Tech 2 technicians to the RI to meet that need. And then down here on the next line, we're looking at the cycles, needs per cycle. So every cycle, this research institute burns through 1 ton of atmospherics, 2 tons of computers, half a ton of chemical, 1 ton of electronics, and so on and so on. And so you go, what the hell are they going through electronics every 10 days? So, well, you'd have to ask the people in the R&D labs and how much crap they keep blowing up or screwing up when they're modifying it. So I don't know. I'm just saying that was my figure on it. So we look at the fine print down here. So support builds required. It needs a colonial center or a regional administration tower within the region. It also needs a housing concern and a power grid, which came with the colony package. That's not an issue. Research time is 5 cycles per blueprint. I have a typo here because it says 6, and that's not true. So 5 cycles per blueprint. May only research 1 blueprint at a time. Minimum research time is 3 cycles. So keeping in mind, having certain types of tech specialists can reduce the amount of stuff needed to research something and speed up the amount of time that it may take to research it. But there needs to be a minimum. So 3 cycles is a fair minimum. And then the area for itself, the building footprint, is a 50 meter by 50 meter by 10 meter tall space. So if you build it inside of a mountain, that's how much space volume it's going to take up. If you build it a building, that's the size of your building. And why does that matter? That only matters when we're talking about tabletop combat. If somebody invades your planet and attacks your RI, you're going to want to know, a battle map for it. How big's the building? How long is it? How many troops I got nearby to defend it, etc., etc. That's how that plays in. It's the same reason why it has a damage reduction, i.e., you have to do a certain amount of damage before it even takes damage, right? So you would need to do 20 points of damage and then subtract the DR from it, kind of thing. And then the building itself absorbs X amount of points of damage like anything else. So when it exceeds 50%, then it fails. The whole function of the building is no longer functionable, but it's not completely destroyed. When it comes to that percentage, remember, if we have 1% of a building surviving, we can rebuild that building as a one-on-one repair and not as building a brand new one, because we're going to rebuild the building. It's just kind of a little caveat on the construction rules, but it does make a difference in the long run. So this is what we're looking at for the Research Institute. So in addition to that, we went to the R&D Imperial Researcher entry in the core book, because this is where we things start to change for us in our facility. All right, so that is page 287. All right. R&D research. Okay, 287. Yeah, 287. Is that right? It says 287. Right here. Okay. So, constructing R&D labs talks about researching blueprints, customizing high-end material discoveries, suggested research teams. So this is what we came for. All right. So my R&D, as of its initial opening, has the ability to research 1 blueprint at a time, which I have it doing, and I have it researching. Let me see if I can find my. Where are you? Because you just blasted here. Yeah, it's the downside of not having enough space to spread your stuff out. I mean, I'm grateful. This is a lot more space than I had in the RV, but it still isn't very much compared to what I would like to have. Jeez, we never get what we want. So we are currently still running a run of automatic rifles, Tech 2 rifles, which we had researched before in the factory. We are currently researching the blueprints for second level Tech 2 star drives, SD number 2, And I have well, it'll be 2 cycles after this one because I haven't updated these. My shipyard is currently producing sublight drive 1s, 5 at a time, and cycles, 2 more cycles. And I have listed 2 R&D labs here. One is currently researching the bouncer beast because of its excretion to see if we can find some way to benefit from the stun stuff that comes off the beast's hide. And then we talk about bilquis. So we've got our met. In order to have done that, in here, according to this, I should have a flora and fauna research team. So one of these is that the very first team is going to be made up of a Tech 3 science specialist backed up by a Tech 3 agri technician and 3 Tech 1 technicians. And then my second one is based off of general or mineral and industrial team. So it's these guys that would research things that metallurgy and how to improve something that's not a blueprint kind of thing. So mineral industrial team, I have 1 Tech 3 science tech specialist and 1 Tech 3 engineer. And then I have 2 Tech 1 technicians. And then the rules say you would have an appropriate to the line of research. So if you're doing research into software, you would have a software tech. If you're doing weapons research, it would be a weapon tech, etc. One of the things I found is simpler is that I create these teams and then I just allot. So in this case, I'm likely to go as my Aztec or as my specialists arrive, and I get all those extra specialists, I'm going to just assign them to the RI, which means they're there and they meet my needs. This brings us to our new entry. Our new entry being the Imperial researcher, who is a Derrit. I still have a male Derrit, and I still haven't come up with his name yet. His age is approximately 125 years old. He has a standard of living at Diamond with a minimum, which means he's going to be expensive to hire. I have to pay him like 5 credits a cycle or something like that. He gets paid the equivalent of some of my platinums if they want to look at it that way. He has a quite impressive list of skills, which he should. And because of his tech level, he is a tech level 6 Imperial researcher, makes him a scientist. That's his initial foray. But he's also backed up with a Tech 5 in health and a Tech 4 in agri. So this guy is a natural researcher when it comes to flora, fauna, and agricultural based stuff. I couldn't have got luckier for have this guy show up. And once again, I don't make this crap up. I just go with the results of the rolls. So it was just dumb luck that I got this virus that came in and screwed 90% of my damn food production over. And then the next, and almost the damn same cycle, we get a guy that can potentially find a cure for it that shows up. And so for that perspective, we would then have to add the Team 1, Team 2, and we get Team 3. So we're going to look at this fine fella first, and I thought I had this crap written down, so I guess sometimes I think I do shit, and sometimes I don't. All right, so we're going to go in here and look at the entry again for our researcher, because there's 2 applications here, and they both apply in this fella's case. So this feller is if I gotta find him first. All right, tech specialist. All right. Weapons technician. All right, so we're going to first go to look at the science technician, I guess, because that's the first one I'm running across. All right, engineer, health technician. There we go, right there. All right. So a Tech 6 master scientist replaces the need for 2 level 5 techs wherever they're assigned. So that, remember, I have these technicians assigned signed over here to my laboratories, and all of them are Tech 3 or lower. So technically, if I had any higher technicians, I could streamline my tech pool down by the next layer up, taking up the slack and being able to reassign those folks to some other position. So, allows for the RI to double the amount of research being done, i.e. 2 blueprints instead of 1, or 3 instead of 2. So I'm only allowed to do 1. When I plug this feller into my RI, he's going to automatically double the down. So I'll be able to research two blueprints instead of one. So we would going to come in here and we want to add a second research entry on there. So we see this would be entry number 2, entry number 1. So we now can add another blueprint to speed up how many blueprints we can research in a given amount of time. And then we're going to go and when assigned to the science fab, or a surface scout team or a science tech that grant the ability to make a modified exploration roll on planets that are 100% explored. All right, so for example, if I have a warship, or let's say I have a ship with a science deck on it, and I go and explore a planet, and I've already explored that planet 100%, I could then choose to have this guy, if he's assigned to that ship as their version of Mr. Spock, could make a modified exploration roll on the planetary exploration charts to see if he uncovers something that was unforeseen in previous exploration rolls. So only discoveries of flora, fauna, and organic mineral nature apply. Additional MR, primitive societies, and other such finds do not. When assigned as a sub-minister for health and sciences on a planet, including primitive societies, helps to decrease the needed cost for making age advancements by 10%. That's a tiny little thing, but it's massive if we ever get to that point. So in theory, it's possible with a lot of effort, time, and resources to take that industrial age planet that's basically under my in my territory, under my turf, and interact directly with the culture to bring them up to Imperium standard. To do that, you would basically, expedite their own development growth. We would move them from industrial to atomic, and atomic to information, and then from information to space. And we would do it in increments, and it would be hideously expensive. This feller, if he was in charge of that program, would reduce that expense by 10%. Still will be hideously expensive, right? Okay, so this feller gains us the ability to research twice as many blueprints, which is something we want. All right. Now I want to find the actual entry for its personality, because the personality itself also may have some caveats that pump it up just a bit more. And these little benefits, they all stack up. They add up over. All right, so. And we're not talking about, looking at his genome benefits too, because he might be getting some extra kick there too. All right, Hero Researcher. Hero Researcher, went through this when I laid him out. What we're looking for is what he may or may not benefit us. Not sure what's that going on. Okay, example, that's one. Going on and on and on. Yes, he requires his own R&D lab, so we have to assign a damn lab to him. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to assign this one to our Imperial R&D. And he's going to require 1d10 plus 5 techs for his personal lab. He wants more help than the average lab gets. So, ooh, yeah, 9 plus 5, so we're going to add 9 plus 5, 14. I want 14 Tech 1s. Oh, that's sorry, that's Tech 2s. And then he's going to want 1d10 Tech 3s. And, here. 4. He wants 4 Tech 3s. And then 1 Tech 3, Tech 4, or Tech 5 specialist appropriate for what he deems his real research would be. So we're going to want 1 Tech 4 Agritech, and hope I got one. Hope we got one to assign to it. All right, and that's kind of what goes into the next phase of that. So we take a look at our research and development. So research, the RI lab falls under the Ministry of Health and Sciences, and we have it listed in here, down here. So I have 50 people assigned, 50 workers, 26 Tech 1s. I got one. Now I'm going to have to assign 14 Tech 2s because of this fella. Tech 3s. I'm going to have 5 Tech 3s. And I'm going to have a Tech 4 specialist. So those get a little bit more tricky. It's a little bit more pain in the ass to keep track of all them yahoos, but I got to see, do I have an agri specialist? No, I don't have a Tech 4 agri specialist yet. So that's something I'm going to have to keep an eye out for. And I don't have any Tech 3s, so I don't have anybody that could technically be taught to be the higher technician. So at the end of the day, what we have is we've had this researcher, and I got to what I would like to do next, if I can get a Tech 6 level administrator to show up, I could have spare. I could assign a Tech 5 or I think maybe a Tech 5 administrator tech specialist to the RI to basically run the show and do all the grunt work on the paperwork side of things, the data side of things, because that would reduce my research time to like 4 cycles or 3 cycles, depending on how high the level of the administrator is. But it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of just what we're doing here and how we're doing it and how these things kind of go hand in hand. Anyway, I'm Rick. You're not. Till next time. Yeah. It just irritates me to no end.